images growing up, probably as children, of like God on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder, kind of thing, right? This entity is like the devil entity, but it's embedded in the consciousness. This here will more so be like the pure entity, because not really this entity here. It's more as a protective entity. Okay. And there's the other aspects of the personality too, but I want to keep this as simple as possible. Okay. So, but this entity here, um, it's like the devil entity. It's always whispering. Okay. In the subconscious. Okay. And that's why you have to be extremely careful what you listen to on a regular basis, because everything that you listen to is a sermon. Like me speaking here, this conversation we having, because this place that we in is a spiritual place. So if we are, let's just say, follow me with this, okay? Simply here, right? Just keep it simple and just follow me with this. Let's just say this place that we in is a spiritual place, okay? If it is a spiritual place, that means that everything that goes on here is, you can say, church in some way. Okay. That means that the things that you listen to are sermons. Okay. So this here will be considered a sermon, right? When you listen to whatever the latest, corrupted rapper or whatever it may be is, right? And you listen to that, bobbing your head to that. If this is a spiritual place, then that's a sermon that you're listening to. And that sermon is what's feeding this subconscious entity here, right? Well, that you see on the screen previously, right? That conscious entity. And so for example, let me give you an easy example so you all can see this, right? People who are deep in the game, right? We talking about drug dealers and those people who are around that kind of life. Their sermons that many of them listen to on a regular basis are the corrupted rappers and singers and things of that nature that we hear, right? That's mainly what they listen to. Person who's deep in the streets more than likely is not listening to Beethoven, okay, or Mozart, okay, then more than likely not listening to that. So we know what their sermons are, but what is their church? We know a lot of people who are in the street making the fast money. They tend to, like, for example, go to strip clubs and make it rain and everything else, right? This is even promoted in many of the videos that you'll see, especially that you see air on BET or MTV and so on and so forth, right? So that's their church, right? And the money that they're throwing down is their offering, is their tithes. Coming to in a meta center event. Okay, so let's go more into the positive way, right? Listening to this podcast right now is listening to the latest sermon in this spiritual place coming from the Meta Center. And you purchasing, coming to an event, or you purchasing products, is you paying your tithes toward what this be considered in a church, the Meta Center, right? It's all the same thing. Everything is the same. Okay, this is a spiritual place, and what you allow into those ears of yours, which goes into your mind, are sermons. And literally, if you look at that in everything that you do, I guarantee, for those, because everybody here is awakened to some level, I guarantee you're going to start to adjust your life. I guarantee it, right? Like, like, for example, when you listen to that business class or like that, right? That's a sermon. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a sermon in the edicts of how can I be more prosperous in business? All right. You go say everything's a sermon. When you pay for it, that was your tithes toward the church of whatever that business whatever that training institution is, training you to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's all the same thing. So you want to be very careful what you are tithing toward. Because what you're saying is that this is what you are. If this is a spiritual place, if it is, then that's what you're saying energetically to the universe and everything, and what you want to bring in your external world, but in your internal world as well. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Supposedly, TJ asks here, TJ, see you, David. One over here, David. TJ here says, there any beneficial purpose for having the adversary in the mind within balance? Some people's here in this place that we share as their God. Let's just put it like that. Okay, so for them, that would be of benefit to them. Okay, they have become one with that entity, and its whispers are their whispers. Okay, its edicts are their edicts. But for everyone else, no, most people are victims to this entity. Doesn't necessarily mean a negative thing per se. There are people who got this entity in their head, and it's allowing them to make certain moves. But you got to understand, it's allowing that person to make those what could be maybe considered positive moves by external people, is putting them in certain positions so that it can then corrupt, control, manipulate, destroy, and so on and so forth. Or even if it's just stopping the progress of those that will come after that could bring balance. So we call them gatekeepers.